You guys would really like to go out into the garden now, wouldn't you? It's only been 3 weeks since I potted them up, and it's already time to get them out into the full sunshine. It's the middle of November, and it's the perfect time to be transplanting brassicas and things like lettuces into your garden here in Central Florida. In this video, I'm going to show you how I potted these up about 3 weeks ago and how I'm going to transplant them into the garden today. Hi, I'm Debbie. Welcome to my organic garden.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
This is my own mixture of potting soil that I come up with. It's according to some tests that I've done as well as experience. So gather up your supplies and take them on over to those little seedlings. So I'm pinching from underneath and I'm placing the root ball and the whole thing into a cup that's about half full with dirt, and then I backfill with more of that dirt that I just mixed up. So pinch from underneath. At the same time, you're going to pull very gently at the top. Try not to disturb the root ball. That's the whole idea of pinching it from underneath. Now you see how I have those all in a line and organized? That's so I don't have any surprises later on. Now I'm using a plastic container and just punching holes in it for drainage. So if you're going to use things like yogurt cups, be sure you put some holes in the bottom. Fill it about halfway full with dirt. And you can see here I'm putting several plants into one container and then just finish filling it up with dirt. That's all there is to it. It's really simple. Be sure to keep them watered, and here's what happens in just 3 weeks. This is where I have chosen to put all of my broccoli, and I might have room for the Brussels sprouts too. If not, I'll go on over to the next bed that I have right there. You see, I still have some things I want to put right into this soil here. Things that I've determined through soil tests and experience of what this soil needs. So for me, 2 kinds of sulfur. So this is a powdered sulfur. It will dissolve and go right into the soil or even onto a plant if I should decide to sprinkle it on a plant. And then I have soil acidifier. It's the same thing, only it's sulfur in the form of pellets. And I'm going to rake that right into the soil. And what that does is continue to keep the soil acidified through the next few months. And then I'm going to add some worm castings as I plant the tender plants right into their hole. I'm not going to put that over the entire bed. And what I am going to put over the entire bed is this mixture that I showed you how to do in that video about how to pot up. And I'm going to spread this evenly over this bed, and I'm going to save some back because I think I'm going to probably have to plant some of my plants in the next bed. I'm going to go grab those plants and see if I need 1 or 2 beds, and then I'll be able to determine how much of this I'm going to spread in each bed. The first thing I need to do is create the bed itself and loosen it up with my handy pitchfork. What I'm doing here is just getting a little bit of a raised bed. Last spring, I dug out all my beds and I put old limbs
underneath, they are still not fully decomposed. So I don't want to dig all that up now. I probably am not even going to do it in the spring. I'll probably wait even another year. But I still like to elevate the beds just a little bit. This soil has a tendency to get saturated, and it just helps a little bit with that. So I'm just going to spread some of that homemade mixture that I made up over the entire bed. It's not an exact science. Most of what I do isn't an exact science. Most of what I do is in response to what I see the plants tell me. And then I verified it with a soil test, and sure enough, what I was thinking was true. My soil has plenty of nitrogen because of the amendments I already put into it, but it needs those other things I was showing you. I'm just going to rake that in real light here. As it gets watered and rain comes, it'll go into the soil all around the plant, and it's going to send the roots out sideways as well as down below. This is the easy part. So I make a hole. It's about as deep as the pot itself. And then I'm going to put a little bit of earthworm castings down in here. And that's the only supplements I'm going to actually put down into the hole. Not very many. Give it a little stir. Tip this over and push from the bottom. Look, it's already got roots all the way out there. That's it. Give it a little stir. I think that this bed and the bed right there that I just planted will really benefit from some weed water and also from some fungicides. So I'm going to come right over here to my watering can, past the carrots, past the green beans, past the turnips, and over there beyond the papaya trees and under the Suriname cherry trees are my buckets of weed water. 2 have just begun to ferment, and 2 of them are ready now. Let's go get some. Last year I made sweet potato vine fermented fertilizer, and that would have been around November that I started it, and I fertilized my corn with it somewhere around May and June, and the corn loved it. So it made a believer out of me. This fermented fertilizer here came from vegetables that were spent in the springtime, and now it's a good 6 months later, and yeah, there's yuck still down at the bottom, but I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see how rich this water has become. But come here and see how rich this water is. Look at this. I mean, it is thick. And you know what? It only takes 1 cup per gallon. So since this is 2 gallons, I'm going to put 2 cups in there. And that's going to be all you need. Last thing I'm going to do is water in all of those another time with fungicide. Now, it's only going to take a capful for 2 gallons. It's just something I do to help prevent disease and gives the plants an extra boost. It's Bacillus ameloquifasciens strain. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see it. Now, all of the tools and things like this that I mentioned are going to be in links below. If you want to look at the description and click through on those links, it'll help me out, and I really appreciate it. So, just 1 capful. And I will fill this up the rest of the way with water. And now I just keep an eye on them. I'll probably have to water them every day because November and December are usually pretty dry, and it's slightly overcast today, but it's usually pretty sunny, and it does dry this sand out. So you be sure to keep an eye on them. And you see my carrots back there? I'm going to give a follow-up on everything that's growing around in my gardenstead. I just invented a new word. Not a homestead, it's a gardenstead. I didn't want those out in the garden because any kind of frost and of course freeze is going to destroy the tomato plants. So I keep them up close to the house where if it's going to be just a frost, I can keep them at the south side of my home where my air handler is, and they'll be fine. If it's a hard freeze, then I can actually bring them inside or out into my shed where it does not freeze on the inside. The cool thing about having a pot this big is a tomato cage fits right down in there. So as these guys grow, I can put them right inside the tomato cage. Oh yeah, it's full of roots down in here, so they're ready for a bigger pot. Let's see if I can get it way down in there, even more so. It's good to bury your tomato plants just a little bit deep because they'll form roots all along that stem. And this here is weed water. But first I'm going to move those plants down where I'm going to save them from frost and where it's a little bit warmer and they have the southern exposure all winter long. I'm going to go ahead and transplant that volunteer over here where there's one. I know they're going to be different from each other, so it won't be hard to distinguish which was the Roma and which was the volunteer. I suspect the volunteer is one of those great big salad tomatoes. We call them Ruskin tomatoes because that is the town that is famous for growing great big Florida tomatoes. So I'm going to move this guy over. Believe it or not, that keeps the squirrels out of it. Cost $1 last spring from the Dollar Tree. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and take a look around on my channel. There's probably a lot there that will help you even if you don't live in Florida.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.